Hello everyone, welcome to Beskidy. Grandpa, we are working. We got the haying done. But one of the things I was thinking of doing as we wait for our crops to grow, which they are still thinking about growing out in the field, so we don't really have anything to do unless we were to go cut some more hay. And I know there are some other hay fields about if we really wanted to do it. Oops, maybe it'd be, oh yeah, I can come down here, fruit types, anything green would be something I could cut for hay. And yeah, there's a lot of other patches. But I was thinking I would give timber a try, because if we look at the map briefing, let me see in here, just read down through here again. It's talking about the dairy, milk, 3 other farms, brewery. Plants grow quite long, so if you have a spare moment, then select of the forest. Winter is coming in handy. Fuel, and you can sell the surplus, the sawmill. And okay, so we'll gladly take in the wood. So, knowing that there is a forest in here, I figure the very least we could do is purchase some extra toys. So let's go shopping here. Mods, yeah, I think this is the one I want. Forestry, it's got the full forestry mod. At the very least, I'm gonna want to have a chainsaw. You know, unlike later versions of Farming Sim, I don't think I have any tools in here, you know, that allow me to march up to trees and cut them down with a machine. I believe if I'm going to do any timber forestry stuff in here, I have to use the good old-fashioned chainsaw. Old-fashioned, still being used. Alright, so let me buy it. Says it's at the store. So, you know, and it's just kind of sitting there. I really should take a tractor down there by all rights. But one of the things I want to make sure of is that I can actually cut timber. So let me hop over here. I'm at the store. Let's use a good old teleport mod. Look over here in the box and see what we got. Aha, there's our handy-dandy chainsaw. Let's see. Oh, alright. Alright, there we go. Okay. I guess I can put it back in there. Do I gotta be standing here to fill up the... Let me run a little bit here. I wonder if I gotta be over here in order to fill the... Yeah, I gotta be here to fill the fuel tank. Anyway, while I have it here, like I say, I wanted to see if I could cut down a tree, because I really want to... Oh, yes. You shouldn't do this in real life with a chainsaw, but I'm going to try to... There we go. Hop the fence. I think I want to head down here. I think there's... Yeah, I can see the trees up ahead here. Oh! You know what? I always feel it in my stomach whenever I come down a hill like this. I probably shouldn't have come down so rapidly. Alright, so we have several trees in front of us here. I know already that these trees over here, the ones I'm pointing this saw at, there's no way we're going to be able to cut those. Those, I think, are actually another type of foliage, similar to crops that we would put in the map. It's just a taller one than we typically have. You can just tell they're thin, they're paper thin. It's just a texture sitting there, and not necessarily a very good one. But it definitely adds greenery to the map. So the ones we really want to try to cut down, and I believe were intended for this purpose, is this bad boy right here. And I don't think I'm going to save this session. I'm going to try to come back to it. So I probably wouldn't cut this tree down. It's just kind of jammed in here at an awkward place to get to. So, but I figure kind of on a fall save, I can try to cut her down. Let's crank this. Yeah, I don't think this is going to work very well. As you can see, we are cutting and cutting. Let me try to step. I don't know if I need to try it at a different angle. Yeah. There's what I recall of this particular mod is in the lower right hand corner, just below where the fuel gauge appears, there would be a percentage that would come up. It would kind of tell you what percentage of the log or the tree trunk you had to cut through, and it would tick itself off, you know, as you had the saw going and everything. It would gradually go down to 0, and then pretty soon you'd see the thing tipping one way or the other. I don't remember how all that worked, but we are obviously, there is nothing happening to this here tree. You know, I'm stabbing it with this with our chainsaw. Looks like it goes all the way through it. I think it's an object, you know. I can't walk through it. But I really think these are probably the trees that the map author intended for us to be cutting down. However, well, I suppose I could give those trees up there. Actually, there's one down here. Let me try to cut it just for kicks. Although I don't think it's going to do it. I don't think these are designed for yeah, these aren't working either. These aren't designed for the forest mod. So you can see we're having equal lack of success, you know, with this. What is that, an oak tree? I can't hardly tell. Waning daylight. So I kind of have a problem, but just to verify, it does say in here that we should be able to cut this down. You know, we do have the forest mod in there. He's saying, you know, we should be able to. I seem to recall reading some other documentation online that says, you know, there's over 500 such trees in the map, you know, that should be cuttable or whatever. At least that's kind of how I read it. But as we've seen, we can't cut this one down, and we're not able to cut these others down. So that's kind of a clue that I think we have a problem. And really, as some of you may have suspected, I kind of ran into this as I was preparing for this episode, and it's a problem we gotta fix, you know, if we want to do timber. I checked with someone else who has been on this app before, and what they told me is they weren't aware that it was a problem. They said they'd never tried using the forestry mod in here, so there we have it. So I'm gonna hop out of game here real quick, switch over to the editor where we can see the kinds of trees that are in here. And here, I mean, they are varying sizes, but you can kind of see one right here. And as I was saying, these kind of trees here, which is similar to the one we just saw that we can't cut, you can walk right through them. I didn't show it in game, but you know, you try to click on this, there's nothing there. Versus, you know, if you try to click on one of these trees, it's definitely a 3D object. Now, when you look at this object, it doesn't have, oh, I don't even know how to describe it. It doesn't have the pieces in it, you know, that I recall from the forest mod from way back in the day. First off, it was a totally different tree. This one actually looks way nicer, in my opinion, than the trees that we had for the forest mod, or that are embedded in it. But I don't think this is a cuttable tree. It has 2 poly surfaces. I think these are called loads. So it's how it looks at a difference or at a distance. A load kind of shows, you know, here we're looking at the underlying 3D object. A load, let's see, how's this one set up? I don't know if it's in here, but I believe it gives a distance. Yeah, it says it's a load, and okay, at 100 meters, it's going to show something different. Probably won't see it so well on this one, but we can see it on these others that aren't highlighted. So when we get 100 meters away, it's going to start to change. See how it kind of changed these two over here? You see a picture instead of seeing the underlying 3D object. The reason there's a load is to help preserve computing power for the game, so it doesn't take as much resources. But when you get up close, of course, it shows you the 3D object in all of its beauty. So these are the loads. This is the 3D object itself. And yeah, this has all the parts and pieces on here, and it's just set up a little bit differently. What I recalled about the forest mod is it was in several pieces, and maybe we'll just look at it here real quick. Look at the forest mod trees. And I realize we're taking some time to add in the game, but just in case anyone's interested, here's the forest mod, a forest mod, however it's set up. Objects, let's look at trees. Yeah, we'll pick harvestable trees. Let's just pick one of these. Here, let me turn on a light. So here is the forest mod trees, which you can see look totally different. You know, it's kind of, the branches aren't quite as distinct. But it is a sawable log. Oh, and yeah, I remember these too. It has these areas where it tells you where to cut. And the reason is, if I'm not mistaken, let me see here. Yeah, it's already got sections in here where you cut, where you can get several logs out of it. Oh, there, I gotta get zoom in here. So it's already kind of pre-cut the areas, you know, where we're going to be putting the saw on there. So it's in several sections, and there's probably at a fourth. Yeah, it appears there's one more. Pre-set up the logs. It's kind of it's a brilliant mod, but I know sometimes in game you can kind of see the little seam, and it kind of takes you out of reality just for a little bit. But I know on these here, you know, in the map, there's no, these are loads. This is the hard object, which includes branches, the trunk. It includes everything. Let me zoom in just here to prove it. I just click only on the trunk. Oh, that's clicking on the loads. Let's see if I can get closer. Yeah, you kind of gotta, it's basically highlighting all things. Anyway, suffice it to say, these trees are not set up the way these trees are set up. And these are the ones that are recognized as being cuttable. I seem to recall, like if I just click on here, it's a rigid body. There was a particular, yeah, I remember reading in the documentation, you must have box 31 hit in order for it to work. Probably so the chainsaw, when it comes close, recognizes that it's colliding with the tree and it needs to do something about it. So like if we go over here, I would be surprised if this had, of course I haven't checked this, maybe I'll find out otherwise. Yeah, see, it isn't even a rigid body. So that kind of explains why we're going straight through it. These poly surfaces, they're also, I would assume, not, yep. And I assume this here wouldn't be a rigid body. Yeah, so nothing here is rigid. You could walk right through it. So suffice it to say, I think that this proves these trees really aren't intended, you know, to be cut. Now, the game clearly says, you know, on the title screen that we should be able to. So, well, lo and behold, something I discovered is the map has, there's a number of scripts. These are scripts that are in here, and I was just kind of browsing through them, looking at them, curious, and I saw one right here called Map Tree Placement. You know, and It just so happens that it's called from the mod description file, so I know it's an active script. And so when you open it up, let me just go to it here real quick. Actually, I did some things to it. But here's how it basically looked. So it's an elegantly simple script. And it's an onCreate, meaning it's intended to be embedded in a map. And what the onCreate does is it says here, right at this very location, at this particular node, this ID in the map, run the following, do the following to it. Well, so the first thing it says is, hey, let's get, where are we on the map surface? Let's get those variables, the X, Y, and Z. Let's figure out how we're rotated on this particular ID. And then, if it's a brand new save, I think that's what this means, where in the mission stats, your travel distance total is 0. Let's just go prove that real quick in game. If, probably let's see it in here. So let's go look at our stats. Yeah, it's finances, stats. Is that everything? Okay, yes, it's the last page. All right, let me just kind of page through it here. Driving distance. All right, see the total in the driving distance as 242.54. Well, we haven't driven that far in this map. That is 242 total miles for all saves. If this was a brand new save, that number would be 0. So what this is saying in this script is after you get the data as to where it's located, how it's rotated, if it's a brand spanking new game, and if you're on the server right now, then we want you to do all of this. Well, first, take a look and see what kind of a tree this is. And this is, get no nil. What that means is it isn't going to take an undefined answer or nothing. So it's going to force an answer. It's going to look for a user attribute. That means it's going to look on the map. It's going to look here for a user attribute. And it's going to look for something called tree type. And if it doesn't find it, it's going to call it fir. Next, it's going to look for a tree index. It's going to look at the same ID for a user attribute of tree index. If it doesn't find it, it's going to give it a value of 1. And I think this is probably a particular growth state, if you will. Not entirely sure how the forest mod runs, but I think in later versions of Farming Sim, there's an index, as to how old the tree is to dictate how tall it should be, whether it's harvest ready or that kind of thing. But if it can't find it, it's going to give it a value of 1. Scale. It's going to look for the size. I think sometimes the size of the tree can be scaled. I know there's some attributes over here in the regular attributes where you can scale. I think there's an engine command you could look up, like get scale, and it would give you some of these values here, but maybe that was a command, for a later version of the game. Suffice it to say, if it doesn't find it, it's going to give it a scale of 1. And then when it has all this data, it says table insert. It's looking for the forest mod, knowing that it's going to have a table in the tree manager, trees to place. That comes in over here is kind of a script for the forest mod, and lo and behold, within the forest mod, within tree manager Lua, is trees to place. And what you see happen is the forest mod has saved trees that you plant and those kinds of things in the save game file, and when it loads it up, it's going to put all those trees in a table, and then when it hits the update function, I believe, let me see, can I find it? Yeah, here it is, trees to place. It's going to plant all those trees based on the data that is sitting in this table. And what we're doing over here is we are populating this table with another little table about the particular tree that we're looking up. But it's only going to do all this the first time you run a game. So you figure out the tree that's in there, get its location, its rotation, get all the other details that you can, put it in a table, and when you're done, delete it. You say what? So for any trees that are in here, it's going to delete all of them at runtime, all of them that is, that have this particular script on it. That's just kind of how it's designed. And thereafter, every time you load the game, remember, it's constantly and always loading this map, and it's loading these 3D objects. So what it's going to do in the future is it's going to get the location just like always. It's going to ignore all this because by then you're going to have travel distance. So it's going to know it isn't a brand new save, and it's going to delete it. Now, if we don't have the forest mod in there, or we take it out in between saves, we're all of a sudden going to find the whole map kind of denuded of a whole bunch of trees. But basically what it does is but this sends all the tree data over to the forest mod to maintain, and then it deletes it out of the map. Thereafter, it will continue to cycle through here. It'll delete every tree, knowing that the forest mod has everything handled. And, you can cut trees, plant trees. The forest mod is going to be handling it going forward. So it's really a cool little script they have in here just to basically replace whatever is at this location with a forest mod tree, so as to allow the player to use the forest mod to cut said tree. I think that's the whole purpose of this. And this, of course, down here, onCreate_util is to add this onCreate function so that using this right here, this is what we would use in the map. It knows how to call this particular script to use it. So kind of what I did is that at the end required a bunch of work. And let me just go up here. I found 2 forests basically in here. There's one under this tab, and there's one under here. Like there's all these fir trees. You can see kind of some of them highlighted way over in the distance. And then there's these here, which is just going to highlight everything here. There's a lot of those to act around. So I think this gets the lion's share of the trees in the entire map, here and here. Now, these are stumps. Those are another thing. I didn't deal really with the stumps. Here, I'm just scrolling down. You can see there's a boatload of them. All right, here we go. Now we get to the fir trees. So I've already come in. When I first got this map, its documentation notwithstanding, it didn't have anything in the user attributes. And so I added something here, the onCreate, which is the script callback. I just typed in onCreate, then I added it, and then you type in mod onCreate dot, and then you put in to call the script, and it's onCreate map tree placement, just like we see over here, onCreate map tree placement. Here's the name of it, and that is how it's called once we get over here into the map. Now, something in the documentation said that there was 500 trees or whatever in here. I think there's a way more trees in here than 500. I think there's actually maybe 2,800, close to 2,900, maybe even 3,000 trees. I mean, they're just all over. Actually, I took a picture of it. This is just highlighting in the scenograph all the areas with trees. I thought there was more pieces than that. Maybe that's fine. I don't know. I thought I counted it at one point and saw many more in here than just 500. But this is a representation of where you would go for all these types of trees to do logging. You know, our main farm sits, yeah, right here. So the closest we've been to the trees is to bale some hay, I believe, down kind of over here. But anyway, there's a picture. There's several trees. Oh, and clear up here in the corner, there's a few more up here, but most of them are kind of on the southern and western edge of the map, if you will. So that's where all the trees are. And so this one here, let me just go to the tree. Well, here sits this little tree. It's actually a little one somewhere in the forest. And you know, if I really was to do this right, I would recognize this is a small tree. Remember, this script over here is going to be looking up several user attributes. Well, for lack of time, I didn't put any of this in there. Tree type, tree index, scale. First off, I don't even think this matters. I think there's only one type of tree inside the forest mod, one or two. So it's calling it a fir. I don't even know if they have a fir. Anyways, it's going to call it whatever it's going to call it. But so anyway, I didn't put in any of these attributes. I figured I would just let it be. The main thing I wanted to do was to actually call this script, because what has to happen is this tree needs to get swapped out with something that I can actually cut, you know, in game. So I put this on create on here, and I put the script on here. Now, the next problem you have is there are hundreds of these things. So it's like, well, what do we do? Do we got to go to every single object and change them? And the short answer is, yeah, you could do that, but it would take forever and a day. So one way we can do this, and this is a nice tool that the Giants built into the map, is we have a replace function. So we open that up, and it's real simple. Target, this is the one you want to replace, and replace it with this. So if we modified this one here, actually it already put it for us in the target. So let's change the target to this one here. So we'll say load, and then replace it with this one here, because this is a one, of course, where we change it. Now, the one you just saw was also already changed. I'm just showing how to do it. But if this is a one we modified, we would put that replace with this. Now, what this is going to do is everywhere in here that it reads fir tree _01, it's going to replace it with this here. So you want to be careful when you do this, because if there are hundreds of objects, it's going to change them just like that. There are some other things you can do here. Keep user attributes, keep physics attributes. For a little bit I got confused. Don't click these boxes if you want to replace everything. Because if you do that, if you say keep user attributes, it'll replace some things in there, but it's going to keep whatever's here, meaning it isn't going to crucially put the script on here, which is what you want them to do. And then you could do one at a time if you want, but I would just replace all. I'm not going to do it here because I've already done it, and there are several kinds, but it's really handy. It just does in seconds what it would take you hours to do, doing a longhand. But there are several types of trees in here: fir tree 01, fir tree 02, and these are probably all varying sizes. So I don't know, maybe I could come in here. Yeah, that tree looks a little bit bigger. Maybe if I click on this one here, it's going to be bigger yet. That's going to be a fir tree 06 in this case. So maybe when I do this to continue my save, before I start bringing the chains on here, I could study a little more on the scale to try to get a size of tree that's commensurate with the size that they have in here. And now that I've, learned how to replace and a few things in here, should be pretty easy. Because all the Fir Tree 06s are probably all the same exact size. And I don't know if we get any bigger than that. But anyway, it was just a handy tool to do. And so, really, to execute the script. So now, I have a save. And since my missions to add's travel distance is already greater than 0, it is never going to execute this code if I just do what I just did and expect the game to run it. There's the bell. But we'll continue. Let's try this here real quick. I'm going to get out of the game, and here's what I'm going to do. I am going to comment out these 2 lines of code. So what this means is the next time it runs the game, it's gonna force this code to run, even though it's already an existing save, and it's gonna delete, just like we see here. So I'll be back in a moment when I start the game up again, and we'll see if this accomplishes what we want it to. All right, we're back in game. Let's again go to, mods by machine time. Let's again come in here, go shopping a little bit. We didn't save it last time, so let's buy this again. We will take a quick flight down to the store. There's our chainsaw. I think we hit the O key to get it out of there. Alright, let's go jump the fence. Sneak down here once again. And look at that. You can see already that this is a different kind of tree here. You can see the same over here. It has totally replaced all those trees that we had in there previously. And now, kind of as we look at this, let me turn on the light. Yeah, this is different. Can we see the seam? I thought you could see kind of the seam here. You know what? That looks pretty good. I gotta say, I'm favorably impressed. Alright, well, hey, without much further ado, let's cut this puppy. There we see the timer over at the side. There we go, timber. Love it. Okay, so we've proven now that we can cut the trees down. So at least those particular trees. But like I say, actually, can I teleport again with this? Let me teleport to the middle of the forest. Oh, good. It even kept my chainsaw. So what we see out here now is kind of a... it is kind of ruined. It's ruined the flavor of the map, in my humble opinion. I really wish we could have those other trees. I'm sure there's probably a way to get them in here. But now these all look identical. And like I say, I may try to do a little bit more tweaking so I can get some trees of different heights in there. These, I believe, are all the same type of tree. Were I to save it right at this moment, it would save all of this as is, and then we would have to go over here to fix this so that it didn't keep updating this every time we open the map. But otherwise, I'm pleased. At least now it seems to be working as intended, because it's bringing in trees that we really can cut, for the forestry mod. We don't even have to put our, if I just get it in the right spot. Oh, maybe we do have to. There we go. See, we don't have to move it or nothing. And eventually we'll cut it down. It tips it somewhere. I just love hearing the sound of it hitting the ground. That is something that the Giants didn't add to their forestry work, you know, when Farming Simulator 15 hit. Anyway, I'm trying to do some work on this in the app. Just thought I would show a little bit as to what progress I was making. Thank you so much for coming along. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.